So thank you, Juliet, for demonstrating for us Coude catheter insertion. A few points of emphasis before we begin. Juliet has set up her field, a sterile field, opening the catheter kit, and been very careful connecting the Coude catheter aseptically to the drainage bag. We do not currently at the hospital have Coude catheters already attached in a drainage kit.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The other thing I'm going to demonstrate is that for use of a Urijet, we're going to open up the Urijet in advance and drop it onto the sterile field, so that when we prep the patient for the catheter insertion, we're going to be able to then use the Urijet. So I'm going to speak through, as Juliet's demonstrating, holding the penis perpendicular to the body. This is the natural urethral tract for the male. And as we discussed, Frank has an enlarged prostate. So therefore, the Coude catheter and the elbow shape to it at the end will naturally curve around that enlarged prostate and enter the male patient bladder. So as you can see, she just prepped. Because we're in a sim lab, we're not going to go crazy with the head of the penis here to protect our simulation materials. But Juliet is using the Urijet. A Urijet is a lidocaine gel, as you all know, but its primary purpose is the lubrication that it provides. So we can just use a lubrication syringe full of lubricant and do the same thing that Juliet is demonstrating. If you see, she's going very slowly, maybe a little even slower than, very slowly, and she's giving that gel time to advance down that urethral tract. And that's very, very important. One of the major points of emphasis for any catheter insertion for a male is the lubrication of the catheter and the meatus. Yep, and she right around the meatus, yeah. And then, as you know, if we leave that gel in place for a few minutes, that will allow for the numbing, the anesthetic to take effect. So the topical lidocaine. So she's going to go ahead. We're going to time warp it. And we'll just, again, put this down below. We've already got the simulation applied stat lock, so we won't do that. But Juliet has this penis again in a perpendicular, and then if you'll notice the shape of the Coude, and she is going to put that point at 12 o'clock. So she is going to put in this position, you can see, and I'm going to use a clock. When I say 12 o'clock, it is just that. The catheter tip was at that point. 12 o'clock, it's okay.
It won't advance.
And will advance, and she is advancing all the way. Now, I don't know if Mr. Frank here is going to allow it, if it's going to work or not, but in real practice, we would advance this catheter right down to the hub. So, yeah, right all the way, so until we get urine, but then all the way to the hub. So, and if you'll notice, when that J point, that hook, is in the right position, this balloon port is upright at 12 o'clock also. So we would go all the way down to the hub, and then again, urine flow, we would inject the balloon and inflate the balloon the entire 10 cc's, and it's not going to work because we're in the simulation lab, but we inflate the whole syringe of saline and then gently release it. We would have applied the stat lock to this catheter tubing before we applied it to the leg in reality also. So that would allow us to leave that 1 inch of slack that we talk about. So, so just 1 inch of slack on the tubing when we would secure it to the leg. And that will prevent the kinking of the stat lock or the tugging, pulling too tight. And what are we thinking then? We clean off the excess?
Sure. Yeah.
And that would be it. How do we? What do you think, Frank? How are you? Does that feel good?
Much relief.
Much better, huh? We didn't ignore Frank throughout the whole insertion,
Right.
but in real practice either. So thank you.